What is going on out there in the world of groofdom? This is your GG Replay for Friday, September 17th, 2021. GG Replay is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday podcast where we break down the latest in gaming news, hosted by us, the Goodnight Groofs, a place for games, a place for friggin' goofs. We're workshopping the slogan. It may not have the F word in it, guys, but you know what? It's a beautiful Friday. I am Paul, and I'm joined, as always, by Matt. How are you doing today, Matt, on this fine fishy Friday?
Okay, wow. Right before the show, you were doing this like really strange Cockney accent. I thought you were going to open the show like that, but then I also
was
remembered
thinking about it.
Our second biggest listener base is out of the UK, so maybe we don't do that.
So you don't want me to do this accent, then? No, right?
No, but it's a good Friday, Paul. We're actually recording in the morning for the first time in a while, maybe only the second time we've ever done that because of certain time constraints in the afternoon. But no soda today for me personally. I've got the coffee going actually.
I love it. Me too, with my GG Replay Goodnight Groofs mug. If you can see on the video version,
I should have gotten mine out.
I did drink it all, but it's there. Which is amazing. No soda for you though today. Interesting.
No, so I do want to let the audio listeners know I don't actually drink soda every episode. It's usually like a sparkling water or something like that. But we do talk about the soda facts on Friday. And Paul, you did tease a special soda thing for today.
I teased. So you know what? Here's the thing. I do have a backup soda thing, but my main soda thing fell through. So what happened was I bought a really cool Dr. Pepper shirt that I was going to show off that I really liked. Wow. I saw it at the store and I was like, oh my God, I have to get this for the podcast. But the problem was I tried it on after and it was a little too tight. So I'm going to go back and I decided to spare everyone that visual. So I'm going to go back and see if I can trade it in for a more fitting one. And then that will be my Friday podcast shirt. It's pretty cool. I think you're really going to like it. So that fell through. But it's a rad shirt, so hopefully we can get that going. But I do have a soda fact, just a small one, but I thought it was kind of interesting. I don't know if you've heard this one, but do you know Pepsi, right? You know, there's Coke, there's
I'm familiar.
Pepsi.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Pepsi products? Yeah. I think we've mentioned them from time to time on this podcast. Well, do you know Pepsi, for a long time has been called Pepsi. Do you know what Pepsi's original name was in 1898?
No, I don't.
You're going to really like it.
Okay.
Pepsi originally was created by a pharmacist, of course, Caleb Bradham, and it was called Brad's Drink.
Holy shit. When you said Caleb Bradham, I was going to be like, is this going to be called Brad's Drink? I don't know why I thought that in my head.
I love that.
That is hilarious. I'm so glad they changed it.
Honestly, I would really like Brad's Drink. You want to here? Can I get a Coke? Sorry, we only have Brad's Drink.
Is Brad's Drink okay?
Is Brad's Drink okay? We only. Do you want some diet Brad's Drink? Brad's lost some weight drink.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
When did they change it? Do you know?
I actually don't know. I didn't even find this on Wiki. I found this on like an obscure soda fact thing. But good to know. Brad's Drink, lives on in our hearts and minds. Of course, I'm seeing now it might be 1893 actually. So my soda fact thing may be off, but it was originally it was renamed in So when I said 1898, it was actually Brad's Drink in 1893. Only 5 short years later, still in the 1800s, it was renamed Pepsi Cola, and it kept that name for a long time till 1961 when it became Pepsi officially. But Brad's Drink had a great 5-year stint. I guess maybe there was a very clear reason it was not catching on. Maybe
even then.
I actually heard a funny. I think it was Hank Green or something had a funny tweet or like a TikTok or something the other day where he said someone the other day referred to the late 1900s. And I shriveled up into a tiny piece of dust and blew away into the wind.
Jesus.
Or something. I was like, yeah, like that is weird. Like it's not like that. That's not a normal thing to call that time, but it is like, it makes me feel like sick to think of the late 1900s.
Yeah, I would like to look at like some documents or newspapers or something from like 1921 and see like were they referring to the late 1800s
Right.
as the late 1800s at that time.
I don't think so, but yeah, we are starting to get to that point. When you said 1921, I was like, well, that's way past where we are in this century. And I was like, oh no, it's not. It's not. But you know what? That's okay. We're old. Okay. All right. We're moving on to the podcast itself. For those of you who've stuck around through the sort of facts, it's a pretty interesting one.
Most people don't know, Paul. We're actually further from the 90s now than Cleopatra was from the dinosaurs. Most people don't know that fact.
Most people don't know that fact. She was actually hiding her pterodactyl wings. That's the first politicians are lizard people conspiracy ever was Cleopatra as like a pterodactyl. That's why the images are so striking. All right. Sit down, get yourself a Brad's drink, and we're going to get into this podcast. Just a reminder, if you come across any necessary corrections in today's episode, please send them to ggreplayshow@gmail.com or head down to the YouTube comments below so we can address them in the next episode. Feels fun recording in the morning. I'm feeling awake in a different way.
It's good.
All right. The reviews are in, Matt. They're just in. It's morning. We got, the TPS reports are coming in to the end of the day. The reviews are in now. And first up, we have Game Deck. It's an RPG. I got a 69 on OpenCritic. I'm sure Bill and Ted would like that. It is out now. Obligatory nice. It is out now. It is kind of like a non-combat RPG. I mean, you nailed it in the notes here. It's Cyberpunk Disco Elysium, basically. I mean, obviously, it's not necessarily the same quality of that game, but that's the vibe I think they're going for here. Matt, what did you think looking at reviews for Game Deck? I think you had a really interesting point made that you said to me that I'm like, yeah, I totally agree.
So the environments look really cool and varied. Like you've got like the cyberpunk streets and the cyberpunk bars, but you've also got like these farms and like this deserty area and
deserty, like cakes and stuff.
No, not quite. I wish though. That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be cool.
This deserty area with like different architecture, like more traditional older architecture. So I thought that was really cool. You don't really see that a whole lot in these kind of games. It's usually like we're going all in on this high tech cyberpunk aesthetic. I will say parts of the game, according to the reviews that I saw, parts of the game seem buggy. Game seems maybe a little unfinished. It just doesn't go quite as deep as a game like Disco Elysium, which it's pretty much trying to emulate. So that's a little disappointing. I guess that's where the lower score comes in. I think I was watching the Escapist review, and Marty Sliva was saying that there are parts where it wasn't translated from Polish. Like
that's what I saw that too. Yeah,
which is a really bad oversight. So that's where the lower score comes
in certain parts, to be clear. Just like the game is translated, but there are parts that are not translated. Not the entire game came out untranslated.
Right. Yeah, just certain lines here and there.
Yeah.
Is what he was saying. So I guess that's kind of disappointing because when I was watching it, I was like, okay, I'm actually kind of interested in a top-down non-combat RPG watching this. Yeah. And then all the bad stuff came out. And I kind of lost interest. And I was I'd rather play Disco Elysium.
I have news for you. There's a game called Disco Elysium. It's all voiced now. It's pretty great. So worth a check out. I still need to get on that. Maybe that'll be my weekend. I'll just like slave myself to Disco Elysium. I don't know. Maybe one day.
Now the voice acting, the fact that they added that, I'm much more likely to play now because when it was essentially just a book, I wasn't necessarily going to be interested in that. So
yeah, I feel you. I get that, and there's times to like that, but I'm just not where I'm at right now. I like a little voice, so bring it on. But anyway, yeah, Game Deck looks cool. You're game detectives, and you're in this like cyber world where you go into different games, like virtual worlds to solve crimes. The whole premise is so cool. The RPG aspects look really cool. I just wish it were a little more cleaned up and finished. Maybe there'll be like a definitive edition, or maybe they'll like try to fix some of the stuff. I hope so. I hope they keep up with this game. I mean, obviously, maybe they don't have the resources or it won't sell now because of some of those issues, but here's hoping because it looks really, really cool, and I'd like to see more of this specific. I mean, like I know there's Disco Elysium and other stuff too, but this setting looks so. I'd like to see more. Hopefully, they will come back at it. All right, moving on. We have Tales of Iron. Tales, Tails, because it's adorable little rodents. It is a Souls-like 2D RPG. Got an 80, a friggin' 80 on OpenCritic. Out now. We love to see that. This looks awesome. I got huge vibes from like Redwall kind of stuff,
They said
or
it takes a lot of cues from
Mouse
Redwall
Guard.
too, in some
Yeah, for
reviews.
sure. So it looks really, really cool. So yeah, I mean, Matt, what's your take on this? I mean, there's not much to say. It looks like a pretty, not flawless, but like a very good representation of like a 2D Souls-like mouse fantasy game. Which I mean, I think there's a lot of people have been kind of waiting for like a solid game like that. Like you said, like takes cues from Redwall. Would be really, really cool to see, and here it is. So I mean, what's your take? I know you like cute animal games sometimes. You
I
like a
do.
good animal vibe.
You weren't on the Game Grooves last night, but
No.
there's a point where I do mention cute animal games and how I'd like to, there's a specific cute type of animal game I'd like to make someday. So
Oh,
listen
okay.
to Game
Well,
Grooves for that.
there you go.
Tales of Iron looks really cool. I don't know if, again, because of the whole Souls-like thing, I don't know how much I'd be into it. The only Souls-like game like this that I've ever really played much is Grim Valor on mobile. And that's
Mhm.
really because it was just on mobile. It was a good game for mobile.
It was.
The art
It is.
style looks really cool. It looks like it's essentially a children's storybook.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like something that we would have had read to us in library class in like second grade or something like that.
Yeah.
And I love that. And that kind of hooks me immediately. I don't know if it's enough to get me to play this kind of game, but for someone who would be interested in this kind of game, I feel like I'd be all over this if that were me.
Yeah. Totally agree. And I think it's, playing on some of those like Moss and Ghost of a Tale. And there's like a lot of mousy games that are coming
Yeah.
out. So it's cool to see more. And it's cool to see, like I said, people taking there's Redwall and there's Mouse Guard, and there's a lot of like fantasy mouse games that really see, and mouse properties, sorry, that are really popular. So I think there's like a huge untapped potential here for like a bunch of mouse RPGs that are like 2D, like a storybook like this. I think they could keep making these. This is really cool.
Why
Um,
is that? Why is like the like mouse fantasy a genre?
I don't know, and I've often wondered that myself. I want to say like it's the entire idea of this like garden animal thing, because in like Mouse Guard, I know specifically, the mice ride like rabbits into battle, and there's like birds that come down like little sparrows, and all the animals in the area like have some kind of point. They fight snakes, like garden snakes. I really, really like that aspect. Like these, it's kind of, it's like Watership Down and all these things where you like focus on these small garden things of things we think are mundane animals, but give them like personalities and a backstory. But I don't know. I mean, Redwall's very different from that, though. I think Redwall has more of like a very deep fantasy aspect to it in a different way, where it's more civilized, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting that we always put ourselves in the place of the mouse,
Yeah.
which is very interesting. Maybe because they're like crafty and they have to like build more and like utilize tools and utilize things versus other animals who are more like put together and have like natural ways to like kill and hunt. Mice are kind of more, I mean, I think like often the way they're portrayed is like wits-based, maybe, even though they're mice. I don't know, but that's a great question. Something to think about. All right. Moving on, Lost Judgment. We've been waiting sort of for this game for a while. I mean, not like we've been personally waiting, but I know that a lot of people have been excited for this one. Action RPG based in like the Yakuza universe. Got an 84 on OpenCritic, and it is out next Friday, but we got our reviews nice and early, which is great for all those people who are looking to maybe do a pre-order right before it comes out. Looks cool. The main takeaway I got from the reviews I looked at was that you get to beat up a bunch of teens in it. You just go and like wail on school children a lot. It seems to be like a major aspect. You like infiltrate schools and
Nice.
pretend to be a student or something. I
That's
don't know.
hilarious.
It looks really funny though. Like it's played for laughs, obviously, and it's interesting. Matt, I mean, you've kind of dabbled in these games a little bit more, like looked into this genre a little bit more. What's your take on Lost Judgment? I know you've been kind of like talking about this game a little bit over the last few months.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Yakuza series and their
Mhm.
spin-offs and all that, like a Dragon and now the Judgment stuff.
Yeah,
I love these games for the simple fact that they're all over the place. Like
yeah,
you can
yeah,
do dancing, you can do racing, you can do playing arcade games. Like there's so many different things that you can
yeah,
do in these games that they throw in as just like extras
yeah,
that I love. I love that about it. I really need to just finally play one. I just kind
yeah.
of
I
want to
agree.
know like what's the best one for me to jump into.
Right.
And
Might be
maybe
this. I
it
mean, this is like the last 3D beat 'em up though one, right? Or whatever
potentially,
version.
because there were the issues with the main character, the actor's agency
Right.
doesn't like that the games are on PC, and so they were taking him out of the series. So yeah, there was something going on with that. So potentially this is the last game in the Judgment series of only, I think, only 2 games, Judgment and Lost Judgment.
Yeah.
So maybe I look into playing Judgment. I don't know. Maybe it's on Game Pass. The Yakuza games are, so maybe this
The
will.
Yakuza games are.
Maybe
I'm not
Judgment
sure.
is. So I'll look into it. I really do just need to play one. But anyone listening, if you have a suggestion for the best one to just like jump into for the first time, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I feel like not Lost Judgment. Like a Dragon was pretty solid. I tried jumping into that. It didn't catch me, but that's because I don't think it's something that I really, really was dying to get into. Like we talked about this before on Groofs, I think, but Game Groofs, but just not crazy about like the mafia thing so much. So it didn't quite grab me, but I think that's like a cool game. The environment's definitely there. So something to maybe check out on the old Game Pass. All right, let's move in. Let's talk about some stories because we have some interesting ones today. First off, I did briefly whisper this at the end of Wednesday's episode because I didn't really make it into the notes, but I think it should be importantly mentioned today. Nintendo Switch finally, mercifully, has Bluetooth audio out, which is amazing. This came to us in the form of a software update, I believe, on Wednesday to the existing Switch. So it should work on the original Switch and the second gen and the Lite. And interesting. There's a caveat that you can only use 2 external controllers while you're using Bluetooth audio. This is probably, I have to imagine, likely some of the reasoning behind them not doing Bluetooth audio in the first place is that they couldn't quite crack it to work in the way that they want it to. So in typical Nintendo fashion, they were like, forget it then. We just won't do it for now, I guess. So no one needs it. No one else has had Bluetooth on their consoles. Well, that's fair. But also, their consoles aren't handheld smartphones with control sticks on them. Like
Right.
it just, I think there's like something culturally, like, people will say, well, Sony, Microsoft, it's your turn to like step up to the plate. Yeah, I think they should have Bluetooth audio. It's not that hard. You should, I mean, I'm not trying to be like glib. I'm sure does have difficulty to it. It's probably not necessary, and latency is an issue, but you could maybe toss it on a game console, but people don't come to expect that stuff from a stationary game console. But yeah, there's a very different expectation from a handheld in 2021. So I think it's cool that we get it. Matt, are you going to start using Bluetooth headphones on your Switch now?
No, I don't
Yeah.
have Bluetooth headphones, so.
Whoa. Okay. Well,
Yeah, I'm not Mr. Moneybags over here. So.
whoa. Hey, listen, go on Amazon. You can get some fake AirPods for $40 and I'm living the dream over
Well, I
here,
do
I tell you.
have AirPods, but I
Well,
don't.
that's Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah, but those aren't like compatible with everything.
They are compatible with everything. They use regular Bluetooth when they don't use the
I
Apple
can't
stuff.
get them to work on my computer. I'm not. I know I'm not a technical guy, but I can't get it to happen. So
Yeah, don't worry
I
about it.
figured it
It's
was just an Apple thing.
It's not. It's not. You can definitely get them to work on anything. But yeah, it's like something to do with like pairing the left one, and then it was like a master slave thing.
Okay, well, it
Um,
sounds confusing.
it's not. It's not confusing, I tell you. You can read a nice like little article somewhere, I'm sure. But I think the main takeaway here too is that latency is still an issue. I saw a lot of people talking about there was a lot of third-party accessories that kind of like made a Bluetooth out thing that you could put in your dongle, and then it would like create some kind of Bluetooth option for the Switch, and it had bad latency. This also has bad latency, apparently. A lot of people are saying that, in some games it's okay, but games where you need to hear sound more quickly, it's not good. Now, obviously, the Switch is not like really a competitive console per se, but certainly you kind of want good audio latency. I think that's probably why a lot of other companies have not been worried too much about Bluetooth audio, because they can't put together like a very like a perfect experience with it. So yeah, it sounds like the Switch pushed it. People are happy. It's there if you want it. They definitely have not promised this is a perfect thing. It didn't come out. It's not. It is like a something they advertised. They're just like, hey, by the way, you can use Bluetooth audio if you want. We don't recommend or not recommend it. You can do whatever the heck you want.
Now, the PlayStation, the Pulse 3D headphones are wireless. Those are Bluetooth.
Maybe they use some kind of proprietary stuff, but I'm pretty sure both the PlayStation and the Xbox do not have typical Bluetooth audio. You can't just like hook up any pair of Bluetooth headphones, I'm pretty sure.
You know what, Paul? That's what it was. I was trying to use my AirPod last year when we were playing Fortnite together on PlayStation. Yeah. I was trying to hook up my AirPods to the PlayStation, and that didn't work. That's what it was.
So yeah, that doesn't work. Yeah, that's the problem with that.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, then it must be a
PlayStation.
Must be a proprietary thing, because
that probably makes sense.
Their Pulse 3D headphones are wireless, but I guess it doesn't say Bluetooth; it just says wireless. So
probably like a first-party thing that they've enabled, or something somehow. But yeah, I should look into that more. But yeah, interesting, cool to see it. I won't dwell on it forever, but I just was worth mentioning because people were kind of freaking out on the internet because this has been like a huge quality of life thing people have been asking for from the Switch. As people like, go on the train or something, commute with the Switch. They have their AirPods to listen to their phone. Why can't they use it for their Switch? Great question. Why not? Maybe it might matter in like a competitive game, but if you're playing Stardew Valley on the train, it might be fun just to have a little music. So cool to see. Oh, wait, and Matt, you added a quick note.
I did, because it's Nintendo related. I'll read it out here. So there are new rumors that Nintendo may be adding N64 to the Nintendo Switch Online for an extra cost. Okay, so I don't understand why they would have to charge more for...
Have to is not the operative word here.
Why they would.
These are their most profitable, these are their most famously sought after games. I mean, N64 is the shit, and people still talk about this, and people still buy these, and they're still... I sold some old N64 games recently on like Craigslist for like $150, and they weren't even like in perfect condition or anything. So they know that people will buy them, even though these are 25-plus-year-old games. They know people will pay that kind of money for them. So
it just sucks because the current service is bad on its own, and it's only $20 a year or something like that, which it's honestly it's the cheapest online service by far, but it still probably isn't worth $20 a year yet. It's just not good.
I've seen a lot of people say even for $20 a year it's iffy, it's kind of like, it kind of feels bad paying it. I will say too, like, listen, let the collector, those games are obviously worth something, but like, I mean, those games are worth something to collectors and people who want to play on their CRT with their N64. That's a different crowd than people like me who just want to like goof around on some Super Mario 64 or want to goof around on some Diddy Kong Racing, and I don't care about the authentic experience. And I'm not saying that other people don't. Good for you if you do. I don't. I don't think they should I don't think they should like charge a premium for people who just want to play the games, ported to a Switch. I think, keep it, keep the market expensive for vintage collectors. Those people aren't going to be like, oh, thank God, now I can play it on my Switch. I won't bother buying an N64. I don't think that's the case. I think most of the people going out there and buying these vintage games are people who are actually interested in playing them the way they were meant to be played or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whereas someone like me who would never go out and spend $100 on Diddy Kong Racing might actually play it on the Switch Virtual Console, and it might even make me buy a Switch, or could give me an extra reason to buy a Switch. Charging extra money for it kind of sucks for like ports that don't really even like necessarily keep the original spirit if you're, if that's something you're interested in.
And by the way, don't expect games on this service that they could just repackage and sell at full price, like Super Mario 64 or the Legend of Zelda games on N64. Don't expect to see those on the service. I'm
still pissed that those like Super Mario 64 got like put into a vault after being like limited time offer in that Super Mario like package.
Did they end up going with the whole limited time thing? Because I bought it because I was afraid it would go away.
They did. You can't get it anywhere.
That's ridiculous.
It really is in 2021, but it's the Disney model, right? You bring things out of the vault all the time, and certain things you can't buy, and it works. It works. People run out and they buy it because they think, I'm not gonna be able to buy this later, and you are correct. You will not. It will be like years to come. It's really interesting in 2021 though how easy it is to get this stuff in different methods, or even just get it off, I don't know, like eBay or something. Not ideal, but it's possible. Sucks. Nintendo. Anti-consumer, guys, get it together. Get pro-consumer. We want it. All right, moving right along, talking about someone else, Sony. We're talking about Neil Druckmann, and we got news now that he will be directing at least one episode of the Last of Us HBO series. We haven't talked about that in a while, according to the Directors Guild of America. The other directors listed for the show are Craig Mazin, the show's other writer, as well as Jasmila Zabanik, Kantemir Balagov, and Peter Hoare. Matt, you've been really hyped for this show. What does Druckmann directing at least one episode? What does that say to you about the show? What is that making you more confident about it?
It essentially, so I kind of equate it to how George R.R. Martin would always write one episode for every season of Game of Thrones. Or at least he would be the credited writer for that episode. I know these shows are written in a writer's room, and you just have one person credited. So I sort of equate it to that. I'm guessing that Druckmann is probably only directing one episode of the series, of the season at least. Probably like the first episode or the last episode or like the second last episode. That sort of thing. I don't think it's just going to be a random middle episode. It's going to be some
interesting though.
That would be. It's going to be some key episode, whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, regardless of what you thought about the story of The Last of Us 2, Druckmann is a good director. He gets a lot from his actors. Scenes are, I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than really well directed. He just does a really good job in that role. Mm-hmm. I think many would argue more so than the writer's role, which is fine. I still think he's a pretty good writer. I know that's a very controversial opinion now, but this excites me. I love that the person who's such a big part of The Last of Us is so involved in this TV series. I do hope that the TV series tells a little bit of a different story or goes in a little bit different direction than the games, because the story of the games can hold their own. Like it doesn't need to be completely retold. But I'm just excited that the guy who is such a big part of it is involved and going to be directing an episode. That's awesome. He's a great director. So this is exciting.
Yeah, we love that. It's really, really cool to see it. It is interesting to see like that directing be pushed to the show versus like writing, like you were saying too. I think we see that more commonly with like writers of a big IP like this moving to a show and then having them write an episode. It's kind of interesting to see. Not even just like, I mean, we don't know, but not even just necessarily like writing and directing that episode, but just directing an episode is interesting to think about. Now, obviously, we don't know because it could be both. This is just a Directors Guild thing that came out, so. But it is interesting to kind of see that like the direction of Druckmann is something that's so sought after for this over just the writing.
It's just a different situation than most adaptations because The Last of Us is a game that is so narrative heavy. Like he's in there directing the mocap situations and stuff like that. So like he directly works with actors, so he's got experience doing it.
They're making this kind of like as a real thing. It's just made in like just all this green screen, the stuff that would normally be green screens translated to like mocap and put into a game. But there really is like a lot of acting and things going on in those scenarios as opposed to just like voice acting and things like that. Not saying that voice acting is not enough. I'm just saying it is much more like probably a studio production of a show.
If anything, directing people with like literally no scenery is even more of a difficult job.
So. Yeah, very, very difficult. So cool to see. Looking forward to that more and more. Do we remember when the pilot's supposed to happen? Do we have anything for that yet?
There's no information on that yet.
Nothing yet, right? Yeah, okay.
But you will hear about it here when that happens.
We definitely will be talking about that. All right. Moving on to something a little more, lachrymose. Marty O'Donnell, former Bungie composer. You know the song. You can see Master Chief cresting a hill with the music playing in the background. And Marty O'Donnell, also one of the company founders of Bungie, has been found in contempt of court over the use of Destiny assets. This is a sad story. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's a confusing story. It's interesting to see. Marty O'Donnell kind of famously left the company acrimoniously in like 2014. There was a lot of kind of tension on both sides. I don't think we got like full reasoning or anything besides just like there was obviously some tension there, and they parted ways. There was some issues then with him using assets, looking at assets, and so basically he posted. Basically, he was not supposed to use any like Destiny's music and assets online. And Eurogamer basically did a story on this, and he used it. He put music of the Spheres, the music that heavily inspired and became like Destiny's main themes, on his YouTube channel. He sold stuff on Bandcamp, showing like music, like sketches of what would become that music, and basically that was not what he was not allowed to do that. I know it's his music, but yeah, it was obviously owned by Bungie, it seems like. So yeah, they went to Bungie, obviously sued O'Donnell for that, and he was found in contempt. So he owes Bungie tens of thousands of dollars to cover legal fees. I think Bungie's representatives are saying something in the ballpark of $100,000. I believe O'Donnell is arguing that, but at this point, yeah, he's basically he has to go online and tell everyone to like delete the files they've downloaded from his Bandcamp. He has to like tell them how sorry he is. It feels very, very personal and like aggressive about it. Listen, my just take is like, yeah, I think obviously he shouldn't have done this because it's clearly like just against the law. Like he was not supposed to do this. This was not stuff that he owns and can do. It was a bad move, but also like Bungie is going for the throat on this dude and like basically being like kneel and beg for redemption here. Matt, what do you think of this? I mean, to see, obviously I don't know the guy, but I mean to see Marty O'Donnell, who's created such wonderful music, have to deal with this. It's sad, but also like I don't know. It's hard to see. I mean, obviously not to go big corporate America, but like we don't know what happened here a little bit. Like maybe he was a bit of a dick leaving the company. It's hard to tell.
You're right. It feels really personal. Like
Yeah.
the whole like having to shamefully say things on social media is really weird. That's a weird requirement for someone to get from the courts.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, when you make the music for the company owns the music. He signed the papers, he knew the deal. Like you can't do that. It's weird that he would just go and do it anyway. And
Agreed.
Apparently like the stuff is still on YouTube and nothing has actually been done yet. Which
no, so he did take down the YouTube videos.
Oh,
that's off now. It's off YouTube, but he hasn't like complied with the begging for people to take stuff off his socials yet. And he is telling everyone to go buy his other soundtrack on Bandcamp that is not copyright infringement to help him pay for the legal fees, which is also a little like, oh, it's like help me. It's like it got like, hey, yeah, I got a Kickstarter for my legal fees, but I'll give you my my other soundtrack.
It's just a messy situation.
It is.
And like you said, I'm very curious to know what really went down in 2014, 2015. I don't think we'll ever really know unless Marty decides to talk about it at some point, but maybe the reason
he's already breaking the rules. Maybe he's going to break another rule, break an NDA here and tell us all that happened.
Maybe the fact that he hasn't talked about it shows us that he was in the wrong. So that could definitely be a possibility here. So it's just disappointing because he is, part of the company's founding. He is the mastermind behind such amazing music, and you hate to see
some of the most iconic music in video game history, I would say. Yeah.
You hate to see a relationship like this end this way, but this sort, when business-wise, when relationships go on for a really long time and you don't just have someone voluntarily leave at some point, it's pretty common that they end negatively. It's just disappointing.
Yep, sad to see. It's sad to see that from both sides. It seems like it's very stressful, I'm sure, to people, to Marty, and also people who have to work at Bungie dealing with this in their own ways. I'm sure there's stress on both sides. So I hope it gets sorted out, and I hope all the people in the right are put in the right place. But yeah, I guess we'll never know exactly who was in the right there. But yeah, interesting story to check out. Definitely was worth bringing up today because it's a lot of money and kind of a novel thing to happen, that he was just like, hey, here's a bunch of stuff I wasn't supposed to post, so pop it on my Bandcamp. You guys want to pay me some money? It's like, okay. All right. Let's move on. Sony accidentally, quote unquote, announced a Destroy All Humans 2 remake. So instead of a sequel to Destroy All Humans, they decided to make a remake of the original sequel.
Well, they remade the other one last year.
I know, but it's funny to like imagine that like they remade the other one. It's like, oh, that did really well. Let's make like a second one. They're like, no, we'll just remake the second too, and then we'll remake the third. It's kind of funny to keep like remaking the sequels too in order. Titled Reprobed. This was leaked on Twitter a few days before THQ's Nordic's announcement. Presumably announcement. They have their 10th anniversary showcase. coming out this week. So presumably it will be talked about there. That was already kind of rumored a lot. Makes sense. Obviously, like we talked about, in some ways that they'd have a follow up here. I still think it's kind of funny though that like instead of making a new game because that went so well, you think that would maybe make them want to make a new game.
Maybe that's coming.
Yeah, but it's just kind of funny to do like a remake of a sequel. So just keep remaking it's one thing to like it's like imagining they remake KOTOR and people will be like, doesn't this mean we should make another like KOTOR game at once? And it sells like hotcakes, right? And they'll be like, now we're just gonna remake the second one now. It's like okay, cool, but like also is there gonna be a third one? Nah, and it's all remakes all the way down.
Yeah. It's funny that Sony just accidentally leaked this. They have done this in the past, like with the whole Blue Point thing with the Sony Japan Twitter feed, which by the way has not yet officially been announced still. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're just waiting until until they're ready to announce the next game along with it.
Makes sense.
That's probably what they're doing. And there's rumors as to what that could be. I know Metal Gear is one of them. So it's just funny. Sony keeps doing this, and the tweet was pretty quickly deleted. But the video trailer of the remake stayed up, and that's been reposted everywhere. And I think they just kind of gave up at that point. But this is awesome. You know, I like seeing older AA encroaching upon AAA games that were beloved getting brought back into the conversation. Because even if it's a remake, it's at least showing us that these people still like these kind of games, and not everything has to be a big blockbuster AAA.
Yep,
absolutely. So I appreciate it for that.
For sure. I wonder how THQ Nordic feels about this leak. I have to wonder, like, it's two-sided, right? Like, there's a lot of people like myself who probably were not going to watch the 10th anniversary showcase of THQ Nordic. But like maybe if I was really into Destroy All Humans and I was hoping for something, I might have watched it and like kept up on it a little bit more. I mean, obviously they're not making their money off streaming an event. I just mean like, it might like reduce a little hype that it happens earlier and kind of steals the thunder a little bit of a show they worked on. But on the flip side, there might be a lot of people who are kind of thinking, hey, there was a leak, maybe we'll see more at the event. And it's worth checking out to see if we get some actual like more Destroy All Humans 2 stuff. So, kind of on both sides, but I have to wonder how much, were they involved with this like accidental quote unquote leak, or was it an actual accidental leak that like kind of like stole their thunder from their show?
By the way, calling it the 10th anniversary showcase is kind of funny because they weren't even THQ Nordic until 2016, and that's really when things started to get going. So they were just like Nordic something until then.
And I guess it's like, hey, we've been a studio for 10 years and we're happy about it. So here you go. It's kind of funny. It's like Brad's Drink celebrating their their anniversary from. They should wait till it was called Pepsi, I tell you. All right, moving on. We have Battlefield 2042. We just talked about it the other day because it got delayed till November 19th, I believe.
Yep.
Now, early access will begin on November 12th. Great. Here's the problem. Call of Duty Vanguard will have been out for a week. Everyone will be knee deep in that. They're not going to want to play an early access game that's like a week out, and it just doesn't, like, you're getting early access to the game, cool. But also, there's a lot of people who might be trying to like crush some Call of Duty for a couple weeks before Battlefield comes out, and they're definitely not going to want to play a week after it comes out. Maybe they'll wait 2 weeks and then play some Battlefield. Weird. It's still too late.
Yeah, I guess we should have known that this would be the case. Since with the original date, October 22nd, the early access was October 15th. So still, they're putting it a week ahead of time. I would say they should have done their very best to make it happen November 5th. So it would be the same day of COD, and that would be really interesting.
Really interesting.
But at least then, because you are paying more to get into the early access, you're buying the Ultimate Edition or Deluxe or whatever they're calling it. You would at least know then, like, here are our numbers. We're doing okay, even though we came out the same day as COD. Our diehards are buying the game still. I just think, in general, you need to move the date. You need to move the release date. Move it to January. You cannot put it right after Call of Duty and right before Halo Infinite, especially if you don't have a free component. And we talked about this a lot on the last replay and on Game Groofs, which is out today for patrons and everyone else on Sunday. So you can listen to the discussion there, so we won't go too much into it. But I just think this is really bad for Battlefield.
Listen, I just think, and I don't know what you guys talked about on Game Groups yet, but I will say, honestly, it just feels like this game changing the date this late for like a month. That's because it's like minimum to hit targets they needed to do. Probably like this is because they needed to hit that holiday for at all costs. But what it tells me is this game, no game needs a month. It needs more. I really feel at this point that it needs more. I don't know, but I'm just feeling like a month is not enough to do almost anything. And honestly, I think if they could have released it in any sort of even unfinished state on October 22nd, they would have done it. And the fact that there must be something so game breaking they can't release it, because Battlefield is no stranger to releasing an unfinished game. They could have done it, so there must be something really wrong with it. And a month feels like a short amount of time to fix that. So I really feel like not only is it going to be delayed, but it's going to be unfinished. And it's just like, no, it's just like I think honestly the best move is to give up on holiday and release an actual finished good game a few months later, and everyone will be tired of COD and we'll jump in and play something different. I think it made sense if the game could have come out around the same time of Call of Duty and been competitive, but it sounds like it's not only going to come out a little bit later, but also be worse. In certain regards, obviously, be worse in quality, and so I think it's a bad move. We'll have to see how it actually turns out, but I just like it's more common for a Battlefield game to come out unfinished and buggy than it is for it to come out fresh out the oven perfect. I think if there were just small issues, it would have had a day one patch. And because we're fully delaying the game, I think the issues are bigger.
EA must really be banking on like an Activision boycott, but you got to understand, like, the people who are buying COD every year don't even probably know that that's
No.
happening.
No, it's not like the WoW people who are at least vaguely more interested in like PC gaming and online. They follow stories more in their community more, like World of Warcraft people and stuff like that, other Activision properties. Call of Duty people are not people, don't have the same crossover with like gaming culture and and following like gaming news in the way that like PC gamers do.
Hmm?
I don't think it's gonna. Yeah, I think you're totally right. I don't think a lot of these people even know what's going on with Activision. I think it's gonna be a shit show.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, we'll have to see. I was really looking forward to this Battlefield kind of being one of those standout ones. There's still a chance it could come out and be amazing, but I'm thinking more the best case scenarios is going to be something that's going to really start to shine maybe a few months down the road when they can get their shit together a bit more post launch. Is my prediction, which is not great because they could have just waited and released it then anyway. So
Not having a free multiplayer component is going to hurt them too. It's
yeah,
just
I totally agree with you.
there's so much going against it.
With Halo doing it, Call of Duty doing it. Like, I mean, obviously it's one thing to have Fortnite and all these like multiplayer games you can play for free, but then also having the big stuff like Call of Duty and Halo having free multiplayer, especially with Halo fully having their all of their multiplayer free to play, really makes it feel like the industry is going this way at that point. Like it's no longer one game is trying it or something, or Call of Duty has a battle royale mode. It's that the industry seems to be moving free to play for multiplayer, and having no free component at all is extremely damaging, especially when it already sounds like your game is going to have issues. So good luck to you, Battlefield. We wished the best, and we will have to see what comes out of this mess. All right, let's go back. Let's go back in time a little bit here to talk about the origins of video games. Not actually, we're not going to get. I didn't wiki enough for that, but I will tell you, yeah, a lot of us got our first starts, especially if you're older, not quite us, but a little bit older than that, got our first starts playing on home computers, playing games, old stuff, people working on stuff that, quite frankly, looks like Pong with extra steps. Well, you know what? One of the absolute pioneers of that and early computing, Sir Clive Sinclair, has died. He was the creator of the ZX Spectrum, and he has passed away at the age of 81. So, I mean, obviously, he was the creator of one of the first affordable home PCs that you could use in England and Europe, really, and also went on to create a lot of other fantastic and interesting inventions, and also kind of created the ZX Spectrum, which was like kind of early PC that would kind of worked more towards gaming, and really opened up the world of Europe and England to gaming and gaming culture and being able to develop for games, and really I think inspired a lot of people.
Yeah.
This is not something I was super well aware of before. I have looked into it more now since obviously hearing about Clive, but yeah, it's pretty interesting to look at. I looked at some of the games. They actually, a lot of them look pretty interesting. Like the graphics and the look of it. Some they vary greatly, as a lot of these systems do, because anyone can make stuff for them. But I saw some really actually high quality looking games for the time. The sound design was really cool. It was really cool to just have that platform, right? I think that's key. Matt, have you heard of this before any of this? I had not.
Yeah, being an American, this was really unfamiliar to me, but I had only heard of it because of a documentary that I watched a few years ago, and I wish I could tell you what it was called or where I
Hmm.
watched it. I can't remember at all, but I do remember them talking about the ZX Spectrum and how it was such a big deal in the UK, and you can kind of liken it to the Commodore 64 for North America, very
Yeah,
similar, and how it really was, like you said, it was a pioneering tool for gaming and for inspiring a lot of people that would go on to become game developers.
hmm,
And yeah, I mean, it was a massive deal. And this was a time where technology wasn't always shared across continents, and everyone had their own sort of thing going
definitely.
on, and these closed off.
It's pre-internet.
Yeah, pre-internet. Can you imagine that?
I really can't.
The ZX Spectrum was a great tool, and it's sad that Sir Clive Sinclair has
Yeah.
passed away, but I do appreciate that it seems like he's getting a lot of, people are honoring him and giving him a lot of respect, on the internet and on the news sites, since this news broke, and he really deserves it. He did a lot
Yeah.
for the European gaming community.
And the computing community, and just so much going on with this guy. I mean, just seeing like the small amount, I mean, like, the huge outpouring of support from people from the gaming community is so amazing, considering that was just such a small part of his portfolio. So I'm imagining, just in general, this guy's obviously, I mean, he's gone now, but it's great to see that outpouring of love and support for someone who did so much. It reminds me, not to, like, get, but it reminds me of the idea that we should be remembering to say this stuff while people are still around too. I mean, obviously, I'm sure Sir Clive, had a lot of people who respected and said lovely things to him while he was alive, but also, respect those pioneers. I tell you, they're
Or
they're they're fantastic.
earlier in the episode, we mentioned how we have a decent chunk of listeners from the UK, and
Yeah,
if any of those listeners are in their upper 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, this means a lot to them, I'm sure. Like, this
yeah,
is a big deal. Like, the ZX Spectrum was probably a big deal for them. So,
huge. We might be talking to some game developers. I saw a lot of people online who said, yeah, this was like the thing that got them to. I saw someone who was like, I was gonna make comic books as a kid, and then I ended up developing for ZX Spectrum, and I became a game developer.
yeah, it's
So
great.
cool. You know what? And also shout out to Brad. He invented Pepsi Cola, and forever we will respect the gentleman. All right, moving on. We're ending the show, but before we do, because we have one more story. But before we say the last story, I just want to remind you: pull over the car. Dry your hands off and from the dishes, and pull your phone out. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, or if you're on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a 5 stars, whatever you can give us. Just a nice little accolade, because you know what, it means so much to us, to have that. It pushes it up in the algorithm, which is amazing. If you can leave a review even, and just be like, I really liked, I don't know, the way Matt pronounced foliage today.
Oh,
That would be excellent. I would love to see that. I don't think Matt said foliage today, but you know what? Save
foliage.
that for a future episode. He just said it. I
I hate
talked
it
over
when
it.
people say foliage. That's not the word.
Not even close. Not even close. I think it's more of an America thing. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say foliage myself. But also, it's not a very oft-used word, I would say. So I'm not sure
That's
if
true.
I've heard it that much at all.
True.
Um, anyway, that would be so helpful. So anyone doing that right now really, really would appreciate it. Now, moving on to the last story of the day, Rocksmith Plus. We all loved Rocksmith. I mean, not really, but Rocksmith is cool. Famously kind of the guitar hero that actually teaches you to play the guitar. So we have a Rocksmith Plus here. It was delayed to 2022.
The Guitar
Um,
Hero, where you become a real guitar hero.
yeah, the guitar hero where you actually like learn to be a guitar hero. So like most people didn't buy it because like I don't want to accomplish stuff. I just want to feel like a god, dude. So yeah, Rocksmith Plus delayed probably because it didn't make you feel enough like a god from the outset. So they're saying they want to be the best guitar learning service, and they will use this opportunity to incorporate user feedback from their closed beta. Cool. I appreciate it. Obviously, I think it's really important to get it right because I know obviously Rocksmith was popular, but I do agree. Like I was kind of joking about. I think it is good to strike that balance between feeling like you're doing really well while you're learning something, and also like actually learning something. And I think it's hard to like get that and gamify it in the right way. So take your time, like get that right, because I think this is a really cool tool to learn to play an instrument. And I think we have the internet now to help with that so much, and we have like YouTube videos, and you can take online guitar classes, the stuff you couldn't do before. Really, you had to go to some weird guy's house in your neighborhood, and he had like 6 kids around, and he kept like singing weird Christian songs the whole time, and you were like, I think I'm learning guitar. And then like as a treat, you learn all the small things, but like it was really hard. This was my experience as, as a child. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I think it's really, really cool, but I also think, obviously, like they said, making it the best it can be is really important, because I think this could be the foundation for future rock stars, baby. I really think it. I really think it could. And I think Rocksmith, the original, was cool, but I think Plus could really bring this could really perfect the experience. So take your time.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall. No, but
did you ever follow this stuff, Rocksmith at all?
I don't think it matters that this game is delayed. Just get this right. This isn't the kind of game that this can come out whenever. So just get it right. I don't have anything else to say about this. To be honest, I put this in the notes because I thought it was going to be a light show at first, and just ended up keeping it in the notes. I really have nothing else to say.
Really? But like, what if it? Aren't we worried about it competing with Call of Duty, or is that not an issue with this? 2022, we got to make sure it doesn't come out in Q1, because if it comes out during Elden Ring, it might have some real issues.
Delay Battlefield 2042 to the same date that Rocksmith Plus goes, and then you'll be fine.
I think honestly, like just as like not even as a joke, that's probably a good move. That's just like a good sound advice. I think delay everything till the date Rocksmith Plus is supposed to come out, just to like give yourself some extra time. Take a little time off for the holidays, and really just work on your game. Whenever Rocksmith Plus is going to come out, just announce that.
We're spending way too much time on Rocksmith Plus.
I think it's funny. All right. That's going to be it for today's GG Replay. But before you go, I just have a little secret to tell you. Come in close. We actually have a whole ass website. The website's called goodnightgroofs.com. And if you like this podcast, we also have another podcast, an all-encompassing gaming podcast called Game Groofs. That normally comes out on Sunday, which is awesome. And we just recorded it last night. And in addition, we also have blogs. And we have stuff, videos. We have social medias with, we're hip. We're with it. We have TikTok. And sometimes I post things on there. And we also have an Instagram. And sometimes Matt posts things there. And it's a freaking blast. You can follow us on everything. Also, we have a Twitch. And we have started doing some streaming on Twitch. Shout out to Mike playing some Deathloop. So always cool. And we do all of our, special events and stuff. Sony events and things. We do that on Twitch. So check out twitch.tv/goodnightgroofs as well. Now, you might say that gaming podcast sure does sound good, but I want to listen to it today. Well, you know what? Actually, dear listener, you can listen to it today if you're a $3 Patreon. So we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/goodnightgroofs. We have a $1, $3, and $5 tier. And the $3 tier does get you early access on Friday to our Game Groofs episode, which is awesome because you can listen to it while you're just coming home from a beautiful Friday at work. Maybe you're going into work if we're early enough. Sometimes we post it that early, and you can enjoy it before the weekend. The weekend chills you out. On Sunday, you got the Sunday scaries. Maybe you don't want to listen to it. I don't know what you want to do. I don't know your life, okay? So check out our Patreon. And if you're feeling generous, we really, really appreciate any support. Like I said, we have a $1 tier. So even if you're just like, hey, these guys were kind of nice, anything helps, and we really, really appreciate it. Matt, do you have anything else to say before we head out of here for the frickin' weekend? And we don't talk to anyone until Monday?
Nah, I'm just going to enjoy the rest of my Friday and crack open a nice cold Brad's drink.
Excellent. I'm going to try some Brad's drink blue. Or maybe like some vanilla Brad's drink. And with that,
Vanilla Brad. Is he related to Vanilla Ice?
Yeah. Vanilla Brad actually was the original name for that. They decided they were going to bring back for the 100th anniversary of Brad's drink. They were thinking of bringing back the name, and it tested so poorly. One guy from Oklahoma named Brad in a focus group was like, yes, this. All right. That is going to be it for today's GG Replay. For Friday, almost said Monday, Friday, September 17th, 2021. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. Don't forget to listen to Game Grooves on Sunday, or if you're Patreon, today on Friday. And we will talk to you again on Monday, where we have an excellent show. Not planned for you, but I'm sure we will plan an excellent show. It'll be great. Good night, Grooves.